It's a triple threat match of an EWA podcast this week as I return from a long hiatus to bring two of my favorite people to your eardrums. You don't have to say thanks. I know you guys appreciate it. Welcome everyone back. It is returned, the EWA Podcast, making its unprecedented, I don't even know what number we're on, like 21st, 26th, it doesn't matter, because it's back, just like Cody Rhodes in the EWA, and just like Stardust, Goldust, and everyone else, it's back. That's all that matters. The people are now happy. People can stop asking me, when is the podcast coming back? When will we hear the bagpipe report again? When will we hear the EWA podcast again? Not that other one. No one wants to hear that shit. Am I right, guys?
That's right.
And shut up. I haven't even introduced you yet. It's like you just forgot how podcasts work. Like you don't.
We're breaking the rules.
No. Does David Letterman come out and while he's doing his opening monologue, does Drew Carey come out and be like, "Ha ha, that's a good one, Dave"? No, he doesn't.
It's happened before.
No, it hasn't. So
I've seen a guest before they were announced one time.
Shut the fuck up, Brian, and you don't say a word until I say, "Ladies and gentlemen, Brian Powers." So just hold on.
I'm here.
That, okay? No.
Okay.
Are we gonna have to start over?
It's up to you.
No. Fuck it, I'll do it live. Fuck it, I'll do it live. And in case you haven't been able to tell, I have, a lot of people would consider them maybe the C team of the EWA. Now, in my heart, I don't think they're the top. So they're the B team. But I think in their own minds, they'd like to consider themselves the A team. Yes, I'm bringing the podcast back with the handlers of Brent Albright and Mr. Anderson, the two men who just recently became EWA Tag Team Champions, taking the Vegas Connection off of the throne. I'm having Brian Powers, and I don't want to use your full name, but the handler of Brent Albright, his name's Nathan. And Brian, good to have you on the podcast again. You're making, I think, your third or fourth appearance. You got to be pushing Brett. People are probably tired of hearing from you by now, wouldn't you think?
No, I don't know. I think people enjoy the sound of my voice almost as much as I do.
And then making his first appearance on the podcast, handler of Brent Albright, is Nathan. Nathan, welcome to the EWA Podcast universe, my friend.
Thank you for having me.
The pleasure's all mine. Now, let's get something out in the open here, right off the bat. Like, you two know each other in real life, right?
Right.
I have for quite a few years.
Yeah, you guys go way back. So, Nathan, how big of a douche is Brian?
No comment.
Well, I think we all know. Well, it's been quite a while since we've had a podcast, and a lot of stuff has happened. The main event scene has kind of rolled over into some great new young talent. Not only do we have, the tag team champions on the podcast, we have a Civil War winner, and we have a two-time number one contender in Brent Albright. Let's go back to Super Brawl. Nathan, heading into Super Brawl, you were in the alternates match. Now, I don't want to discredit your win, but there wasn't a whole lot of participation in that match, right?
Right, unfortunately.
So coming out of that match, which was kind of a breeze for you, especially as talented of a writer as you are, you come out of that match right into a story with John and Steve Carino. So why don't you talk about your experience of working with John and going from the alternates match to the main event scene in just one foul swoop?
Well, it was kind of interesting because at that time, Brian and I had just come off of, we've been trying to do this tag team thing, and for whatever reason, things just coming up, national title shots for him, of course. Things like that have been coming up, and we were just about to get that going again, and then Super Bowl season comes around.
Mm-hmm.
So we go into this, and we're, okay, another thing to put it on hold. And he gets drafted. I get stuck on the wild card team.
Right.
And I'm kind of in a funk anyway, so I end up in the alternates match. Come into the alternates match, and I'm not thinking of that I'm going to be in anything important here. I'm just kind of drifting until...
Now, did you know the circumstances surrounding that match, that the winner got the title shot?
I actually did not.
Okay.
Until after the match.
Right.
So it comes kind of as a surprise to me that instead of drifting like I thought I was going to be, here I am suddenly facing John, who is looking like the unstoppable god here right now.
Yeah, it's coming off a Super Bowl victory, yes.
Yes. So that was kind of interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So then having to come up with, I have no idea what to do with him here. Let's be honest. I was just drifting, coming up with ideas with what was originally going to go on. And then John comes to me, and we start working on the storyline, and basically all credit for anything that happened, believe me, is on John's shoulders.
Oh, I'm so tired of that asshole getting credit. He wins the World Cup. He probably rigged the Royal Rumble drawing. He wins his pot at work to win money. And now we're just giving him credit for storylines. John. And you know what? John's going to come in this podcast thread and be like, oh, well, Nathan gives me all the credit, but he was such a joy to work with, and he was just as big a part of it. No, it was all you, Nathan. It was all you, Nathan. Okay, so you head into what was the January pay-per-view?
Day of Reckoning.
Day of Reckoning, that's right. So you head into Day of Reckoning, named after a GameCube WWE game, and what were your thoughts heading into that match? How confident were you that you could walk out of there the Grand Slam champion?
I thought maybe I had a 50-50 chance. I mean, if it depended, if John had an off day and I did something really spectacular, it could happen. I mean, I didn't honestly completely expect it to, but I was going to give it my full shot. Not going to turn down that kind of opportunity, of course.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of one of those things where you just swing for the fence at that point because you have nothing to lose. Like, you're coming off the alternate match. You're kind of coming out of nowhere, like out of the blue, and people are, not that people are, like, I think you opened a lot of eyes that week of Day of Reckoning because a lot of people probably hadn't read your stuff and probably hadn't really, hadn't considered you to be, like, top tier, can hold his own against John type thing. And I think you actually got and garnered a lot of respect from the EWA universe.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it was honestly the first time since I've been in EWA that I had a challenge in front of me and actually had something going so that I could produce what I knew I could. So you would consider that Day of Reckoning to be your first real challenge in the EWA? I would, because I honestly, looking back at the last real challenge I had with King of the Ring and you, I
was just going to say, and then I was going to be rude and hang up on you and just talk to Brian. Damn you for picking it up. Damn you.
The thing is, I honestly, thanks to timing and things, I could not take that seriously.
Well, it wouldn't have mattered because your ass would have been grass anyways because the guy who should have won King of the Ring did. And then he disappeared for 4 months. But that's beside the point. All right, and then coming out of Day of Reckoning, came up just a bit short against John, went back to your Scott D'Amore story. We will get to that later. And then we're going to, at this time, Brian, you're taking time off for personal reasons. I don't know if you're playing your toy game with your comic book guys or what you're doing. Or if you're cooking, I don't know what you're doing at this point with your sensei. But you're taking time off, and then you decide that you're going to make your comeback.
Yes.
You come up with this whole story with Brett and the Vegas connection. Let's talk about how that came to be, and then going into Civil War, what your expectations were and what your reaction was coming out of that pay-per-view.
So initially going into all that, it was right after Super Brawl, and Brett had just thrown something out there like, hey, I'm looking for someone to work with. And I'm thinking, no, why not? I haven't really worked a real big program with anybody up to that point yet. So I messaged Brett, and then we started something, and then I had to take a little bit of time off.
I remember how disappointed he was that you were the only one that messaged him now.
Yeah.
Go on.
Yeah, it's pretty disappointing when I'm the only option,
Yeah, he's like, Brian, message me. Do you anybody think
my
want to?
Anyways, so I decided to make my comeback at Civil War, and originally I didn't really have any plans to try and compete to win the match. We kind of had this idea. Yeah, I'm just going to go in there and just throw myself to the wolves, right?
Right.
No, but we kind of just had a scripted storyline type idea of how Anderson was going to come in and kind of look like he was on side with the biggest connection and then screw Val Venus out of the match. Mm-hmm. And I just decided, why not? I might as well try while I'm at it. And then I was completely caught off guard that I actually won. I had no idea. I wasn't expecting to win at all, so it was a nice, pleasant surprise. But
yeah, what was your reaction when reading the results? Did somebody give it away to you before you read them?
Indirectly, yes. There were several people that came up on Skype and asked me if I had read the results yet, and so I figured something was up.
I was not one of them. I am a true believer in no spoiling.
We'll go with that.
No spoils. I wasn't, was I?
You were.
I was?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe I was just curious because I didn't say, like, have you read them? You need to go. I was probably just like, you read them yet? No? All right. Bo Dallas won the Civil War. That's what I should have said.
Right.
Bo Dallas should have won that Civil War, by the way. If you go back and read the stuff, his stuff was clearly the best. And that's by a non-biased third party here. Bo Dallas's work that week spoke for itself, and he probably should have won Civil War.
Well, let's just say this. I believed.
You did believe?
I did believe.
That's fantastic. This podcast is already one of the worst, so we'll all remember that. And then coming out of the Civil War pay-per-view, we head into, I believe it was High Tension.
Yeah.
And at High Tension, we're treated to the main event of Mr. Anderson, Steve Corino, and then I believe Brent Albright was involved in that one as well, right?
No, that was the next one.
Oh, that was the next one at Lethal Lottery?
Yes.
Okay. Maybe, I've had a couple beers in me now, so I'm not quite sure. And Cody was taking time off, so I didn't really give a fuck about the EWA at that point, right, guys? You've been with me.
Right.
So it's just Anderson and Corino at High Tension.
Yes.
So you've got to be... You're probably feeling better than Nealon did heading into Day of Reckoning, because it is so hard to sustain a championship reign for that long. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you got to think to yourself, hey, John's probably near the end of it here, right?
Well, a combination between that and the fact that I had just come off of winning Civil War, I'd boosted my confidence quite a bit from that.
Right.
And so I was feeling really good going into it. And I had a couple ideas for RPs that I was saving for when Anderson and Val Venus got to their eventual match. But I figured, going for the Grand Slam title, I might as well just use my good ideas here. And it almost works, apparently, but Newt had to go and reread the RPs.
Oh, yeah. Well, see, and that's my thing. I think Newt might actually be illiterate.
Think so?
Well, yeah, Bo Dallas didn't win Civil War. Cody Rhodes didn't win Super Brawl. I think he just picked Cody's name out of a hat for King of the Ring. So
that's what I would have done.
I think Newt might be illiterate. I put down that Cody Rhodes' finishing move is the Crossroads, and he won the match using a tornado DDT on Slam this week. So I feel like Newt's just pulling stuff out of a hat at this point.
Maybe Cody is experimenting with new finishers.
Maybe Stardust is. I don't think EWA Cody's experimenting with anything.
Now, see, that's the inner Stardust starting to come out.
Oh. That's where it starts. Maybe Newt is trying to send me down the Stardust path. We're not here to talk about Cody. We're here to talk about Anderson and Albright. All right, so we're through April, and now we're heading into May. And now Anderson is back out of the picture. So Anderson wins Civil War, and he gets one shot.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about that?
Well, I'll get another one later, I'm sure, eventually.
But can you really? Can you be so sure? I feel like you need to it sucks to lose, especially at that high of a level. And then after it's done, you're just like, I really hope I get a chance next month. And then it's like, they come out on Slam, and Carino's doing stuff with Bray Wyatt and Albrecht, and you're like, well, that sucks. Like, what can you say?
Yeah, I mean, there's not really too much you can do about it. I mean, we had kind of talked about there was the possibility of me getting involved in that, and I can't remember exactly what had happened, but I mean, I know K2 had been in line for that for a while, but I don't know. I can't remember the whole conversation that we had, but I just opted to take a little bit of a breather.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Neither
that's
got a shot
understandable.
there, so.
That's understandable. You wanted a breather. You had just worked a whole month, so. I mean, you were in line for a break. You were in line for a break, right? You wrote between Civil War and High Tension consistently week in and week out. You deserve that break.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know if a lot of other people have the same problem as I do, but I can't come up with a lot of top quality ideas for RPs.
Oh, what? Oh, sorry. I thought we were talking about. I thought you were talking about tiny dick syndrome, but no, you're talking about writer's block.
That's a topic for another podcast.
That's the other podcast I run. Welcome to the Tiny Dick Podcast. That one does loads better than the EWA one for some reason.
Yeah, right.
A lot of the same clientele listening to both, though, if we're honest. Okay, yeah. So back to your tiny dick writer's block.
Yeah.
So
no, I have trouble coming up with ideas on a consistent basis. So I don't know what it is about just high-profile matches one after another. I just don't seem like I can come up with enough steam to keep them going like that.
But isn't that what makes the guys like John and Bryce and Teasy, whenever he had his run, just like doesn't that just that's what makes them so amazing, is that they do bring it at that high level of consistency week in and week out every time that someone is put in front of them.
Oh yeah, it's kind of frustrating because I can't do it and they can.
And I think it's tough. Like, I try and bring that intensity to like every match that I'm in, but it's tough. Like, it's tough when you're just writing a Fury character development and you're wanting to like bring it, and you're just like, okay, 2 pages in Word, I'm gonna get the fucking win. Let's just like, I've developed my character.
Right.
Like, it's tough to bring it week in and week out and at such a high level consistently, Oh,
definitely.
So we're after High Tension. We move towards Lethal Lottery, and Nealon, now you're brought back into the picture. How did that happen?
Well, basically, I had spent the last couple months kind of wrapping up the storyline with Scott D'Amore.
Yes.
And
how long did that storyline go on, like from its incarnation, really?
Pretty much since I came in to the EWA. It had been planned to do something like that since then, but it had been hinted at, and things had been dropped, and then things would change, things would come up.
It's always fluctuating. You did some stuff with the prototype, Matt Morgan. Care to elaborate on who played Matt Morgan, or is that just a secret that you'll take to the grave?
Well,
let's just say that I'm surprised those RPs got written, because I think the person who might have been in control of them was illiterate. But that's just a theory of mine.
You might be right. You might be right.
He's probably going to get pissed, but still. All right, so you're wrapping things up. And the thing that I think is pretty cool is Newt seemed to work very closely with you on this storyline as it developed towards the end, right?
Right.
That's cool. Go ahead.
Basically, what had happened is I had come to him he had sent me a message after the match against Steve Corino at Day of Reckoning,
right?
And telling me exactly how close it had actually been, and thanking me for stepping up. And so I had kind of gone to him at that point because I had nothing coming out of that,
right? And
wanted to get this D'Amore thing wrapped up so that the next time an opportunity came up, I was free to really take it again.
Right.
So at that point, I'm bouncing ideas off him. He comes to me with this absolutely amazing idea, which unfortunately didn't quite work out.
as most great ideas tend to lean towards.
Basically, yeah. So he and I are sitting there all through it, bouncing ideas back and forth, and then there was a couple times there in the middle where timing came up and I didn't get something done, or I didn't get it done to my satisfaction or whatever, and then Newt would take it and twist it to work, and basically I'd say that was probably about 60% him, 40% me.
So you're willing to give John 100%, but you're only going to give Newt 60%.
Well, what can I say?
Do you think John is the one that judges the matches? I'm confused. I thought Matt Morgan was fantastic, and I think he was a great writer, and I would wholly endorse anything that the writer who was Matt Morgan does and says. Just throwing that out there.
I very much agree with you.
Oh, here we go. Ass kisser.
Takes one to know one. But
so
no,
you're working close with Newt towards the end, and that you wrap up the Dia Moore story, and you're kind of thrust back into the main event scene once again.
Right. It was kind of the idea was, of course, K2 had been waiting in the wings for basically forever at this point. And they really didn't want to do heel versus heel only at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So it was decided that because of the way Albright had lost to Carino, having made him tap and having lost because Dia Moore came down and interfered.
And Cody was the referee for that one. It was all kinds of convoluted. Yeah,
exactly. Cody is the referee and everything going on. That Albright would stick his nose in because he wanted his fair shot.
Right.
And then they did the number one contenders match as a way to basically make it look better that here Brent Albright was coming back out of nowhere to step in.
Right.
So going into that, I hadn't heard that Brian was mentioned as possibly bringing Mr. Anderson in at one point, but...
Well, Brian claims that, but obviously no one can back this up. So this is just Brian trying to say that he still had a legitimate chance to be champion, when we all know he didn't.
I'm just trying to stay relevant, guys.
So heading into the Lethal Lottery pay-per-view, you're going up against K2, who has patiently waited at this point with this really spectacular Wyatt character and very well written. And you're getting John, who you have to think is much like during High Tension, has got to be on the last leg of he can't really keep up this level of consistently great work. So what's your confidence level heading into the Lethal Lottery pay-per-view, Nealon?
I would say a little bit higher than Day of Reckoning.
So does that make it a little more disappointing than Day of Reckoning?
Yes and no.
That's not really an answer.
to be completely honest, I'm just glad I wasn't the person that was pinned.
Okay. So you technically, you still have a claim if you wanted it with Albright.
Exactly.
But coming out of that Lethal Lottery pay-per-view, that's not what happened. What wound up happening was that the Anderson and Albright team is finally brought together, and the plan that had been put into effect probably 8 to 9 months prior, if not a year, is finally come to fruition. And whoever wants to take the floor, you guys can go back and forth, that's fine. How did the Anderson and Albright team, how were they finally able to come together last month?
Well, okay, so starting back when we originally first joined up in the EWA, the plan was to bring in a tag team. Mm-hmm. And so we couldn't find any established, real-life tag teams that we had liked, so we just decided, let's just pick random people.
What about the Big Show and Chris Masters?
I kind of like the potential of where those two could go, but I really feel like there's just really not that much substance there.
I agree. I think the Big Show really held Chris Masters back as well. Go ahead.
He did. Okay, but anyways, So, I mean, like Nealon said earlier, one thing got to another, and we just never could get the tag team thing to line up. We had started the storyline with Scott D'Amore, because originally it was involving both the characters fighting against D'Amore.
Right.
Anyways, things got in the way. Fast forward to now, we both are at the end of a storyline, so we can finally jump in. So I talked to Nealon about trying to get the team together, and maybe 2 days later, Newt had sent me a message and asked me if I wanted to be involved in a big tag team match at the pay-per-view.
Yeah.
And so I emailed him back and said that I was thinking about getting Anderson and Albright together as a team, and he said, go for it. That's better than the idea I had anyways. So, yeah, I mean, we just...
What do you think his idea was? What do you think his idea was?
I honestly have no idea. He's probably just going to stick me with some random...
Jobber, like Big E Langston or Dolph Ziggler?
Most likely, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could have been Cody Rhodes, which really would have sucked.
Cody wasn't back at that point. Cody just had almost a debilitating leg injury, so he wasn't coming back at Red, White, and Bruised. That just wasn't happening.
Yeah, he was too busy breaking up with the girlfriend while he was paralyzed.
Oh, well, I'm glad someone read my stuff. I'm glad someone read my work, because I'm not writing all that stuff just for me. It's very
not?
Well, that's how I feel at times. I feel like I'm the only one in the world. I saw, after I had posted the role play, my first one back as Cody, it had like 25 views the next day. And I know all you motherfuckers just wanted to see if I was playing Stardust. That's the only reason you looked at it. Is there gold font? Yeah. Is he using the Stardust character? No? Alright, fuck this, I'm not reading it. That's all you did. You just wanted, you scrolled to the end, there was no pictures of Stardust, and it did not say Stardust, so you were all just like, fuck it. I'm not reading it.
You let us all down.
I did.
You really did. You really did.
If Newt sends me on a losing streak, I'll pull Stardust out, and I'll probably win the title.
You know what? Here's the gold combination here. Stardust with a mustache.
Oh, man.
Oh, brilliant.
Must dart.
Must dart.
Dart stash. Star dart. Whatever. Star stash. Star stash. You know what? This isn't about me. How do we keep getting off on Cody? I mean, I do every night, but why do we keep getting off on this team? So the Anderson and Albright team come together. The A team comes together, and you're in a fatal 4-way tag team match at Red, White, and Bruised. And Nealon, how confident are you heading into this match?
On this one, very confident.
So how disappointing was it that you had to win the title with Bryan then?
Well, at least I won a title.
Yeah, your name's in gold.
Exactly.
That's all that matters.
So, Bryan, this has been a pretty solid year for you so far. You got a Civil War win. You took John to a rereading for the title, and you're the tag team champs.
Yeah.
I mean, you're coming off a year before where you won Lethal Lottery with John, and you were the first person overall eliminated in Super Brawl.
Yeah, so I'm thinking that I'm hoping the pattern doesn't develop here, but I do really well throughout the beginning and throughout summer, and then I just kind of trail off a bunch of losses at the end of the year.
I would expect like a King of the Ring qualifier loss for you sometime next month.
No, it could happen. It's definitely in the cards.
So now that you guys are the tag team champions, you guys are moving forward. What's next heading into the Metal Mayhem pay-per-view? Who are you guys facing this weekend? Like, I know, but I'm just going to put that out there for those of us who don't.
Well, it looks like it's going to be a matchup with the Cash Money Cowboys.
Not this weekend, but next weekend.
I know what you meant, so I could read your mind.
Get out of my head.
I don't want to know what you're seeing in there.
Professor X. The Cash Money Cowboys, huh?
Yes. Killer Elite Squad now, remember. Killer Elite Squad.
I'm sorry, what?
They changed their name. They're the Killer Elite Squad now.
And the Cash Money Cowboys are made up of whom?
Lance Hoyt and Heath Slater.
Oh, that jackass?
Yeah.
We should invite him in here. We should invite him into the call right now and just get his thoughts on this.
You know what? I don't think his thoughts are very relevant.
It's not.
Oh.
I don't want to talk to him either, to be honest. I talk to that guy every day. Fuck him. So you're working with the Cash Money Cowboys, and what have you guys had going on with him in the weeks leading up to Metal Mayhem?
So far, really, we just announced the match. We kind of dropped the ball this week, not getting anything going on Slam. I know I've been pretty slammed this past week, just even trying to get up the little bit of RPing that I did for the 6-man tag we did.
Really? Because I have 9 missed messages from you on my Skype. But okay, yeah, that's fine.
Oh,
yeah, I've got time to bug you. I've got plenty of time to bug you
during the day.
Enough time to bug Craig, but not enough time to RP. Wow.
You hear that? I would much rather he role play than bug me.
Oh.
Hey, in all fairness, we did win the match.
You did. Well, mostly because of Jeff. But yeah.
Yeah, mostly. But
yeah.
By the way, is Jeff's D'Angelo Dinero character, is that, he's really good with him?
Yeah, yes.
I enjoyed his Masato Tanaka, and I think we all, in our own, we probably didn't understand and appreciate the Civil War on the level that it should have been appreciated. But holy shit, his D'Angelo Dinero character has been, it's been really good.
Absolutely.
I'm enjoying his Dinero a lot more than his Tanaka, and I enjoyed Tanaka too from what I saw. What it was left when I actually showed up. But
I would like to get his thoughts on the WWE signing Kenta, because I think he probably knows Kenta better than any of us. I don't even know who it is. I get all my information from Reddit and the internet, so I'm not even sure how amazing this guy is. But apparently he's pretty good.
I'm vaguely familiar with him, but
yeah, basically take everything you've seen CM Punk or Daniel Bryan do in the ring over the last couple of years.
Oh, drop pipe bombs and cry and whine a lot and grow a beard. Got it. So Kenta does that. Okay.
I was thinking more of the actual move set, not the the personalities.
Got it. Diving concussion bombs off forklifts. I've seen Kenta do that.
Yeah.
Basically, yes.
Yeah. All right. Well, how old is Kenta? Do we know?
I want to say he's early 30s. I don't know. I just picked him up in my EWR game yesterday.
I wonder how well he speaks English.
Better than I speak Japanese.
Really? You know what's probably going to happen is they're probably going to put him with Natalia, and not Natalia, but whoever's with Rusev.
Lana.
Lana. They're going to start not the Allied Forces, but what were the other guys called in World War II?
The Axis?
The Axis?
Yeah, the Axis, an Axis stable.
That actually could be cool.
I don't know. I just see them getting into a bad thing with real Americans.
See, that's the thing. Did you guys see? Do you guys go to Reddit at all?
Not often.
Okay, that's where I get my wrestling news. Somebody wrote this article, and it got 1,000 upvotes, which in the wrestling subreddit is a lot. And it was talking about how wrestling doesn't have a problem with minorities. It has a problem with just flat out racism, where its minority characters are playing awful caricatures of their race and country.
Oh yeah.
Why couldn't Jinder Mahal just, they tried it with 3MB, but seriously, why couldn't he just be a regular guy, a regular Indian guy, and not stereotypical Indian guy?
It's
The Rock was kind of like that when he first came in. I think just the kind of clothes he wears, and when he debuted.
Yeah, but he was more booked and promoted as legacy and lineage more than he was. This guy is a Samoan. He wasn't doing he was a Samoan in a sense of Roman Reigns is being booked as a Samoan. Not if you gave The Rock a headbutt, you would fall over and he would stand there because he's Samoan. You know what I mean?
Oh, kind of like what they're doing with the Usos?
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, no, I think it's just because it's easy. It's an easy way to get cheap heat.
Mm-hmm.
It's time-tested. It's honestly just a fallback. It's awful, but it's a fallback and it works.
Yeah, but how many wrestling fans are like, Vladimir Putin, oh, fuck that guy. Like, no, like, oh, he went into Uruguay or whatever, and fuck that. Like, no one cares. Like, wrestling fans don't care about that. And they're like, this is Vladimir Putin, better than Barack Obama. And they're like in Alabama, so everybody's like, yeah, fuck Obama,
Yeah, it'll backfire eventually, but...
Well, it has given us the face turn of Jack Swagger and Zeb Coulter, which has been pretty cool.
Yeah.
Nobody else watches wrestling?
I watch about a half hour of Raw every night, every Monday.
You guys wait until Stardust is on and then you just turn it off?
I DVR the program so I can fast forward.
Right. That's good then. All right, let's talk about some of the other, since the last podcast has come on, the new crop of talent that has come in since let's say around Civil War. We have a new Chris Jericho.
Right.
The old Chris Jericho is supposedly banned, from what I was told. I was not really an active member those couple weeks when that all went down.
Saw the old Chris Jericho on the boards a week or two ago.
I think I did as well.
Ooh, I did not.
I think it was through a different account, but yeah. But this new Chris Jericho seems to have integrated himself nicely, and it's probably very difficult for him to take a character with such history and put a new spin on it.
He's really done pretty well for himself, getting in with the national title so soon after debuting.
Yeah. Did Mr. Anderson have much of a history in the EWA before you got him, Brian? Did you look into it at all?
I looked into it a little bit, and I just kind of wrote it off and just wrote around it, which probably in hindsight I probably shouldn't have, but I guess somebody was Mr. Kennedy and had won whatever the world title was called at the time for like a month.
Yeah. And
but other than that, I don't know.
Now, listen, I'm not going to sugarcoat this. I'll be honest. I have no idea who Brent Albright is in real life. I don't know what fed he's in. I don't know what promotion he wrestles with. I don't know if he's a heel or a face. I don't even know what his style is. So, how did you come to decide that he was the guy you were going to use, Nealon?
Basically because his last name started with an A.
Wow. That is
the A-Team joke name for our tag team was basically the only reason I picked Brent Albright.
Man alive.
I came to know more about him afterwards, and I appreciate my choice, but I gotta be honest.
Yeah.
Craig, did you ever watch WWE and right before Chris Benoit died?
Yeah, I watched it just last Monday. Oh, back in the day?
Yeah.
No, not really.
He had a thing going where... I'll let Nealon explain it. He knows better than I do.
Yeah, this was about when I quit watching the first time.
Because Brent Albright left? You're like, I can't fucking do this anymore. Brent Albright's gone. I can't watch this shit.
But no, basically, from what I understand, Brent Albright was in WWE developmental for years, and then he came up as a character called the Gunner Scott.
Oh, yeah, I know Gunner Scott. I have the WWE Encyclopedia in my shitter, and I read it all the time. Gunner Scott's in there.
I'm sure he is, for about, 2 lines, 3 lines?
Yes, his picture is bigger than the actual... I might take a screen cap and put it up in the podcast and be like, Gunner Scott.
Do it. Anyway, what happened was he came up in a storyline where he was going to be Chris Benoit's protege. Mm-hmm. Chris Benoit had taken him under his wing, and from what I understand, the backstage storyline and stuff was that it was going to lead up to the two facing each other at the next WrestleMania. Until Chris Benoit got ticked off over some contract dispute or something, and left the company for a while.
Wow, he never seemed like someone that had anger issues.
No, not at all. Not at all. So then they basically went, okay, we have nothing for you, send him back to developmental, and then released him a couple years later.
And what's he doing now?
Well, he wrestled on the independent scene for quite a while. He was in ROH for those 5 people that have actually heard of it.
Ring of Honor? Ring of Honor did like 1,500 pay-per-view buys last month.
Ooh, 1,500.
Maybe it was 1,500. It was like 1,500 or 10,000. It was a lot.
That's okay. 10,000 would be
there.
10,000 would be impressive. I would give him that, but.
Listen, if you give a shit, fucking Google it or ask Jeeves. I'm not looking it up. I'm walking around my apartment talking to you two assholes at 10:30 at night.
I like ROH. Don't get me wrong, but I really don't care enough to find out.
What do you guys think about the six-sided ring coming back?
Initially, I was really excited for it, but then when I looked into the reason a lot of workers hate it, it's more of a novelty than anything. But
did you guys see that?
I'm just starting to like what?
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say I'm just starting to like TNA stuff again.
Yeah. Maybe you and Newt can have a little circle jerk over TNA.
We could.
Because he likes that shit.
It'd be a good bonding experience.
Did you guys see Sting? That Sting promotion?
The promotion was really cool.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for the fact I don't think that Sting's ever going to do anything else with the WWE, I might get more excited.
Well, the word is he's taking on Taker at WrestleMania.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's been the word for like 5 or 6 years now.
It's true. I'm sorry. I'm one of those guys that's always going to mark like a little bitch for anything that man does.
Really?
I know. The guy. There's just something about him. I've loved him since I was 3 years old. First watching wrestling. I guess I will just never grow out of that. It just won't happen.
Brian, who's that guy for you? Who was the guy growing up that you were like, this is my fucking favorite guy?
I didn't start watching wrestling until junior high, and all the guys that I really liked back then, I look back now.
Once you started to develop sexually, and you started to realize what you were into, you were drawn to professional wrestling. That makes sense.
Right. I guess AJ Styles is probably that guy for me.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. You know what's odd for me is I started watching wrestling like whenever I was, for as long as I can remember. My parents had this the giant fucking satellite dish in the backyard. Like seriously, like probably bigger than your living room. This thing was huge. Like it was connected to NASA. And you'd have to like go out there and like point it, and this is back in the day when like wrestling results were put up on ESPN. Like they actually like during Sports Center, they would run the wrestling results. So I was always a fan as a child. I think I've said on other podcasts, I'll say it again. When I was like 4 or 5, 2 things scared me more than anything. Like 2 things kept me up at night. I don't know if you guys have ever seen or heard of or remember The Missing Link.
Yes,
but
yes.
That motherfucker scared the shit out of me. I had a wrestling encyclopedia that I got from a bookstore growing up, and it wasn't just WWE, like it was everything. It had like Ric Flair, Hulk Hogan in there, and it had like detailed biographies of each. It was a great book, but they had a page for The Missing Link in there. And I couldn't even look at him without being terrified. And so like I had the page memorized, and I would just like quickly turn past it or like do 2 pages at once. I was like 5 years old and like terrified of The Missing Link. And then Kamala. Oh my God, you guys don't even understand. I am not making this up, and you can ask my parents if you ever meet them. When he went, like when the match was over and he went back through the curtain, when I was like really young, I thought that like he was coming through like the back of my TV and was going to come in my living room, like when he went through that curtain. I was mortified of Kamala, like legit terrified of Kamala.
I couldn't picture the Missing Link in my head, so I just Googled him, and I found a picture of him and Kamala with each other.
Really?
Yeah.
That's just like, that shit kept me up at night. I'll put that picture in the podcast here, too, with Gunnar Scott. But, and I didn't have a favorite, really. Like, I never really had a guy that was like, yeah, Ultimate Warrior, yeah, Hulk Hogan. I just kind of liked, I just like watching it. And then I really got into Tatanka, like right as he debuted, and then he went on like that win streak, and I was like, fuck yeah, I'm a hipster Tatanka fan at like 9, And then after that, I just kind of, like as soon as the Attitude Era started, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, this is kind of cool, like I still enjoy it. And then when The Rock joined the Nation and became The Rock, holy shit, like, I was in love. I was in love. I had the Brahma Bull shirt the day it came out. Like, I was all about I was a hipster Rock fan, and then I was a hipster Kurt Angle fan, too. Like, as soon as he came, I was like, this guy fucking gets it. Like, this guy is going to be awesome. And then I became I would still consider myself a hipster Cody Rhodes fan because he's never going to make it big. So
you may be the only Cody Rhodes fan.
One day.
One day.
Anti-mustache, anti-Stardust. No, I never had that guy growing up in either one. I would watch WCW too, but I never had like a guy in there. Like, I like Chris Jericho, but I don't know. I loved Dean Malenko back in the day too.
Oh, who didn't?
I didn't come to appreciate him until after he retired, unfortunately.
The Bookers didn't love Dean Malenko.
Good point. Good point.
Malenko was in the Four Horsemen for a while, right?
Yes.
That's what I thought. The Iceman. That guy was technically sound, but he just, I don't know, he just didn't. I felt like he wasn't given, not the right push, but the right tools. You know, he never had microphone time. He was as dense as an ice cube.
Basically, I'm guessing he's had to have screwed up something once on the mic, so they just decided they weren't going to give it to him again, ever.
Yeah. But his feud with Jericho was spot on, man.
Oh, that was gold. That was gold.
It was really good.
The man of 1,004
first exposure.
Yeah.
My unfortunate first exposure to Dean Malenko was him stalking Lita in WWF.
Oh. That's like saying my first exposure to DDP was when he was stalking Undertaker's wife. So I don't really like him. No, like DDP's legit. So
I did get to see some of the tail end of his career in WCW.
Of DDP's?
Yeah.
That was sad though. That was like him dropping the belt to David Arquette and then like just being like fucking around with him. I feel like DDP has been way more successful post his wrestling career, and he's probably like the only one that can say that.
Oh, The Rock.
I guess The Rock, yeah, but The Rock keeps coming back. And you know what? I don't have a problem with that.
I don't either.
Like, I don't have a problem with it. And let me tell you something. I am already really excited for next month's pay-per-view main event. If you don't know what it is, like, stop listening now. But holy shit, like, Cena Lesnar, this would be fucking awesome. Like, I saw it last year at Extreme Rules, and I thought it was top 3 match of the year.
You know, I'm one of the few people that is really on board with the fact that Lesnar could be champion and only appear just on pay-per-views and maybe once or twice on Raw.
Yes.
Because it makes the champion more desirable for people to watch.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. It increases views. I mean, come on. If you could only see the champion, if Paul Heyman's the guy doing the promotion week to week, and you only see Lesnar with the title at the pay-per-views, that's going to get people watching pay-per-views.
Yeah, here's the thing.
Yeah.
Since Lesnar's been signed, he's shown up sporadically. And he, aside from the Undertaker thing at WrestleMania, he's not really been booked that well. But at the same time, like, I get fucking stoked when Lesnar is in WWE. Like, I feel like they've done a great job of, like, not using him too much, but just using him the right amount.
Yeah,
like,
before the Undertaker match, I would have told you that he's been booked horribly. Like, his WWE return was just a major crap, you know? Mm-hmm. But everything they've done with him up to the Undertaker feud and past that has made him look legitimate again, which I'm loving it.
Well, I kind of hope he wins. If Cena Lesnar is for the title next month, which it probably will be, I hope Lesnar wins. That'd be fucking sweet.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
That would be awesome.
I would like that a lot.
Ongoing rumors to have him win and hold on to it until WrestleMania.
And take on The Rock?
Take on Roman Reigns.
I don't know. I just feel like literally of the 3 members of the Shield, Reigns is the least likely to be. He's not the least likely. He's probably the most likely, but he's the least talented of those 3.
Agreed.
Yeah, I agree, but that's kind of putting it the wrong way, I think. Because if you look at the Shield, that group of people, you're even the worst of the Shield is better than most of their roster.
Yeah.
Right now.
Yeah. I'll agree with that.
Yeah.
Who, in your opinion, should have won the Money in the Bank WWE Championship match?
In all honesty, I hate to say this because I am not that big of a fan of Cena, but I think they did the right choice. I think that giving it to Cena was the right choice.
I kind of agree, but I really think Bray Wyatt should have won that because it would have reestablished him after Cena completely buried him, almost literally.
Thinking about it long term, if they're wanting to give the title to Lesnar, it wouldn't have made sense to give it to Wyatt only to drop it to Lesnar that soon after. Because it further legitimizes Lesnar as being the guy if he beats Cena, who's on the border of breaking Flair's record, which kind of makes me cringe.
Well, you win the title 15 times. It means you've lost it 14, so you can't be that great of a champion.
Whatever. Good point.
Well, see, with Wyatt, I read an article online somewhere, and I can't remember where, and I really agree with it, that basically said that Bray Wyatt's character as it is right now, especially if they want to keep him a heel, shouldn't be anywhere near actually winning a title. Because that changes the nature of his character.
Well, unless he just wins it in spite of his motivations. Like, if he wins the title, but his motivation going into that match wasn't, I'm doing this to win the gold, like, he has to beat the champion but not give a fuck about the belt. You know what I mean? Like drag it behind him or make Harper or Rowan carry it. Like, he has to, like, not give a fuck about the title. You know what I mean?
But then you have
that could be interesting.
But the problem with that is that devalues the title. That's like, okay, who gives a crap about this title? Why does it matter? And I think in any feud involving a title, the title should be the focus.
Right.
Otherwise, why involve the title at all? Why bring in a prop?
Right. Well, I think the listeners of the EWA podcast hate it whenever we go down the WWE route, so I'll spare everyone, and we can talk about that on our own time. I'll go ahead and cut this off. We put in almost a good hour here. I want to thank Brian and Neelan for coming on and being my first podcast guest back. As these podcasts, I'd love to come back on a weekly basis. There's a lot of stuff that's happened. We have some new talent near the top, and guys like Corey, JD, and Kyle and K2. And, I'd love to have these guys on the podcast. So, if you're sitting there listening to this thinking, thank God they're done talking about the WWE because that was fucking boring as fuck. Hey, I think I'd kind of like to go on that podcast. Seriously, just shoot me a PM. I am more than willing and open to have any of you guys on and talk some EWA and just get to know you. And, I think people enjoy these podcasts and listening to them, and it's a good way to kill time at work or on the treadmill or on the drive home. So, Brian, Neelan, I want to thank you guys for coming on. Brian, is there anything you'd like to say to the EWA universe before we head out?
You put me on the spot, and I am terrible at that, so no.
Alrighty, Neelan, anything you'd like to say?
What he said.
All right, well, congratulations again for you guys for winning Civil War and your match at Super Brawl, Neelan, and coming close a couple times with John. Beating John is no easy feat, and there aren't many people that can say it, so, there's definitely no shame in losing to him. And, congratulations on winning the tag team titles, and I wish you a very long reign. And, I just want to thank you guys for coming on again. And if anybody else would like to come on, feel free to contact me. Thanks for listening. It's been a pleasure doing this for you guys again, and I'm happy to be back, both as a competitor and in the podcast world. This is what makes the EWA such a great place. So everyone have a great rest of your day and evening, and we will talk to you next week. Have a good one.